Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mindful SRNA RNA podcast. I have another great episode here for you. We are continuing on with our parenting podcast stuff. I have another guest here. Her name is Nicole. We work together. We both kind of have different jobs now. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we did work together. I met her when she was I believe you were a fairly new grad, I think, when we met.
Yeah, I think I was new, but I had followed you as a student, so I was a little starstruck. I was like, oh my gosh, I know you.
I love it. So we actually worked together. She did CRNA school with kids. She is doing the CRNA thing as a mama. And so we are just going to dive into all the freaking good mom parenting stuff. I know she's got lots of gems to share with you guys, and I am so excited. And happy CRNA week. We're recording this on actually the day one of 2025 CRNA week. So happy CRNA week, everybody. Yeah, so exciting. So first of all, Nicole, I always like to get everybody's kind of background. Again, we never use it against us, but use it to kind of just show that there's so many different ways, so many different routes to get to CRNA. So whatever you're comfortable sharing, tell me, your ICU experience, how many schools you applied to, kind of what your journey to CRNA school looked like for you.
Sure. So I did not know I wanted to be a CRNA. I had graduated from U of I, planning on going to law school, but decided that wasn't the path for me. So I had to go to nursing school. But in nursing school, I knew I wanted to be in the ICU. I knew I wanted a high level of accountability and knowledge. And I knew I wanted to be in that environment. So I did med surg for a year. When I graduated nursing school in 2012, it was almost impossible to get a job. All the baby boomers didn't retire, so there weren't a lot of jobs available. And the ones that were, you really had to know someone. So not that there's any problem with going to med surg first. It just wasn't my first choice, but learned a lot there. Moved over to a medical cardiac ICU. I was there for about 2.5 years doing straight nights. So that was fun. But then when I had my son, my first baby, I decided I needed to do something that was during the day and be more available. So at that point, I moved over to a different hospital and did full-time rapid response. So that was more of a leadership role. I was there for about 3 years. So that's where I really decided that I needed to figure something out. I knew I wanted to go back to school. Didn't know what that was going to look like. But I had an opportunity to shadow a few CRNAs at the hospital I was working with. And I said, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it.
Love it.
So, so then I started that process. That was really fun bringing that up to my husband.
Let's pause there. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Because you guys had one kid, right? So one kid.
We had one. And I was super pregnant with my second. So I was about 6 months pregnant. And I said I wanted to go back to school. And my husband, Andy, he's fantastic. He's always supported me. He always jokes about how I keep going back to school because when he was with me, I was in college and then I was in nursing school and then now I'm just doing this. So he's a fantastic partner. He's always been supportive. But, of course, first thing out of his mouth was, yeah, that's fine. What are you thinking? And I explained to him what a CRNA is, what they do. He's like, oh, well, that sounds great. You make way more money. You get to do what you want. But, how long is that program? What does that look like? And I was like, well, that's the hard part. So, his eyes are bugging out of his head when I'm telling him that it's a 3-year full-time program. I can't work. I have to take out, a couple $100,000 in loans. We had just bought our first house out, and we live in the far western suburbs of Illinois. So very far from any school that I would be going to. So in true Andy fashion, he didn't say that he didn't want me to do it. And he said, whatever I decided, but he's like, we really need to think about what this is going to look like for our family. Our kids were super, James was super young. He was 1. I was pregnant with Ella. We were going to have a newborn. So, we really thought about what that was going to look like. And obviously, CRNA school is competitive. So I told him, I said, I'm going to move forward and do the shadowing, do the applications and everything, and we'll see what happens. Like if it's meant to be, it'll be. Um, and I know you were asking about like applying to schools and all that. So I only applied to one program in
Wow.
Illinois because I knew we weren't going to move. We weren't going to sell our house and deal with all of that. We had all of our support here with the kids. Um, there are multiple programs in Illinois. They all have their strengths and improvement areas of improvement. But the school that I ultimately applied to was known for being fantastic for work-life balance because that's really what needed to happen. Um, especially with the kids being so young. So I put all my eggs in the one basket and shot my shot and I got it. So
Awesome.
but as it gets more and more competitive, I don't recommend
Yes.
that.
Yes. And
um,
that's, yeah.
yes, I don't
Yeah.
recommend that. But in the situation I was in, it was like, if I want to do this now, it has to be under these conditions. Um, and I had told myself, if I don't get in, I'm not going to apply next year. I'm going to take some time. I'm going to get into a different space with our family where, where I can be more flexible. At that point in time, it was not possible. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because, yeah, I never, and you guys are probably like, Amanda says to never do that. I do. I always say, don't put your eggs in one basket.
yeah.
However, I want you guys to notice that she, like, this is what I want to do. She, like, made that decision. Then she went right to her hubby. And I love that you were, like, pregnant. Like, hi, I'm going to be CRNA. Like, as a mom. Like, I love that you just went for it. Like, we're going to talk about that in a second. Like, you just didn't make it a
hmm
thing. Like, I'm going to have another baby. I'm going to have a newborn. I'm going to have a 1-year-old. I'm going to be wiping butts, hopefully being in CRNA school, being a wife. Like,
hmm
I like that she just made a decision. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply to one school now, put all my eggs in one basket, see what happens, trusting right cohort, right time, but also
hmm
knowing in the back of her head, if this doesn't work out right now, then I'll just regroup in a year and we'll see what we can do, right? Like, let me have this baby and then we'll regroup. So I just love the forward thinking. I want you guys to notice the forward thinking that she had and the fact that she literally, like, what I just want to talk about that for a second. Did any fears or doubts cross your minds when you were like, I'm going to have 2 young kids and go to CRNA school and not be making any money?
Yeah, that was scary. I would say a lot of it was I I tend to take on a lot, right? As we all do. Um, and I always seem to make it work. And so I wasn't afraid of that. I was afraid of not being able to give my kids what they need. So I was afraid of not being able to be present enough with them, be able to be there for them at those important moments. I was afraid of not having enough money to send them to, a good daycare, a good, do all the activities and do all that kind of stuff. Um, Obviously the financial part of it it's a huge thing. You go from having, at least for our family, 2 stable incomes where we were able to buy a nice house and do this and do that and like no problems to being, cutting that in half and still wanting to do everything you wanted to do before. So really that was where my fear came from. I think Andy's fear was there too, we're young and just still figuring things out, and to take a big risk like that was scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And
hmm
really quick, before we go deeper into that, what made you go from law school to nursing? I'm just curious. Like, what was like,
well, I bombed my LSAT.
you're like, and no.
Yeah, yeah, I really thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And now, like, I do think that I have the mind for it. I didn't have the passion. And I was thinking about it again when I was studying for anesthesia boards. And I was thinking about how easy this is for me to get up in the morning and study for 8 hours a day and put
Oh,
in the work. And for LSAT, it was like pulling teeth. I just did not want to do it. And I probably should have like thought about it then and been like, maybe this isn't the path for me, but I'm not someone to just quit. Like, I'll see it through and see where this takes me. It didn't take me anywhere good. So,
You were
so
like,
that's really what
nothing.
it was. Yeah. So yeah, I remember at that point just being like, what am I going to do with my life? And, um, yeah, my dad has MS, and
Mm.
he was getting, a little more debilitated at that point. And he was having a home health nurse come in and like do his injections every week. And so I like really started talking to her about nursing. Like, what does that look like? What do you do? Um, because I've never been in the hospital. Like I've never seen hospital nursing. I've only, gone to the doctor and dealt with that person and this person. And she had a really interesting career path. So I was like, wow, I didn't realize you could do all these different things. So that's how I like
I
decided to
love
look
that.
into that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy how things just, they fall in front of you, and you pick a path, and then that path goes here and there, and then here you are. So
Yes, yes, I
mhm,
love it. And again, like it goes to like following y'all's own path, right? Like there's, some people don't, there's actually, hear me, there are so many of you that have either gone to med school and it didn't work out. Some of you health science, behavioral science, athletic
mhm.
training. Like I've just seen it all. Like what you have done before is not a hindrance to what you want to do. Like find ways to use what you have done, the choices you make back then, like
Mhm.
it's not a bad thing. Use them for your benefit and for your gain. Because as I said, and there's another podcast episode I talk about, every single thing on your way to CRNA serves you if you allow it to. Don't look at everything as like bad, but like this is my path, this is my journey.
Mhm.
Own it, walk on it. And that's again what makes Nicole so unique to our profession. Like we all have so much, and she's great, by the way. Like I literally work with her. She's great, by the way.
Thank
So,
you.
it's just so much uniqueness that like we each have to
Yeah.
offer. And it doesn't matter where you start, where you came from. It matters like having that passion and that drive and just the willingness to do hard things.
The more that you talk to people, you realize how many different backgrounds and experiences people have that have gotten you to the same point. Um, and I think when you're, applying and you're trying to figure this out, that's not you're not always talking. It's not like you have a group of friends and you're all applying to school. It's, you're oftentimes doing this alone and figuring it out yourself. And that's why, Amanda, people like you and your podcasts are important. You really
Thank you.
help, future CRNAs realize that it's possible.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. So just to talk about some of the mamas and the dads out there, when you said
Hmm.
I was scared I wasn't going to be able to give my kids what they need, can you break that
Hmm.
down a little more? Like what was that like? Because I think that's such a big fear. I think I did a live the other day and somebody was like, I'm just scared to death of sacrificing my time with my child. Like again, I'm scared I'm going to damage my kid if I put
Yeah.
myself first for 3 years. So go in a little deeper with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, I think it is always important to put yourself first. I will say that right off the bat. You can't be a good parent, spouse, friend, daughter, what have you, if you're not the best version of yourself. So, and I am one of those people where it's very easy for me to be selfish, and I know there are a lot of people where that is not easy for them. But it really helps you. You really have to just think about like, I need to do X, Y, and Z for myself in order to be available and the best version of myself. But going back to your question about being able to, provide and do all of that, financially, I mean, loans are there, you'll pay them off. You do it fast. um but you do have to make sacrifices, and you have to make sacrifices in terms of things and experiences and time. um what I found to be most helpful for me was to really understand what my priorities were. Obviously, school is a priority. Making sure that you're doing what you need to do, because if you don't succeed at that, then what was the point? Um, but for me, spending time with my family was number one. Like, I always had to make sure that I spent time with them. It wasn't always about like, can I afford this week to go to Chuck E. Cheese? Can I afford this week to do, whatever? It was being able to spend time together. And I really built that into my day. Um, yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk about that or not.
Yeah,
But
so that's actually we'll segue into that because
mhm.
so when you started CRNA school, how old were your kids and what did that first semester look like for you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So when I started, so that was August of 2019. So James was 2 and Ella was 2.5 and 1. So very young, very needy. Um, at that point, you're right there.
I'm in it, girl. I'm
They,
in it.
you're in it. You're in it. Yeah, they needed a lot, and they didn't understand why I wasn't there because I went from working 312 day shift, so being home with them 4 days a week. So why is mommy working and not here? So the first like semester or trimester, I guess, wasn't terrible because I was only in class twice a week. So Tuesday, Thursdays. But this was where I went to school. The program was based about an hour and a half east of me. So, even though class was only 3 hours, it's like another 3 hours just to commute. So it was like a full-time day. Um, so really, yeah, that was rough. But the first trimester, I was still working because I could. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. um, I was scared, right? Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just terrified of like not having this and not having that, and I don't know how this is going to work out. So let's just try and do it all, right? Um, and that was rough because I felt like I didn't have a lot of time during the week to study when the kids weren't there or when they were with like the nanny or at daycare. So I really had to do a lot of studying on the weekends, which cut a lot of my time with them. Um, so that really informed my plan moving forward. And then COVID hit, so that was fun. And that was my first year
Mhm.
of anesthesia school. So all four of us were home together, can't go anywhere, can't do anything, no babysitters besides the Amazon Fire tablet, because that's all we could get at the time. So that was really fun. Um, so that was a unique situation. I don't think anyone else will be in that situation. But it really helped me fine tune balance, school and life balance. So from that time on, my personal plan was Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. School was my job. I worked 40 hours a week doing school. Saturdays, I would review. So anything during the week that was particularly tricky or I felt like I didn't get a handle on it, I would get up early on Saturday mornings before my kids woke up. I'm sure you do that too, because it's the only time we can be alone.
But
So I'd get up so I'd get up at 5, and from 5 to 7 I would review. Um, and then from 7 until Sunday night, I put school away. I was full-time mom, just being with the kids, having fun, doing whatever. And then, back to work on Monday. Um, and I feel like that really helped me a lot. I felt like I wasn't losing myself to school. It was important, it was a job. But I had my evenings with my kids and made dinner, and we ate dinner together, and we sat and watched TV together on the couch and snuggled. And then we had our weekends. But I mean, I was still doing 40 hours of studying a week. Or studying in school and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
and that was how I did it from the rest of the program.
Wow. Even clinical.
Yeah.
So how did you mix clinical into that? How did that
So
change things?
So that was a job on top of a job, of course. Our program was pretty front load. They say they're not front loaded, but they're pretty front loaded in the sense that once you're in clinical, you're working on your DNP project and you're maybe going in for lecture once or twice a month. That's totally manageable. It's really focused on like C prep, boards prep. Um, so yeah, luckily our program was very supportive of a work life balance. So we had a 45-hour a week cap. It had to average over the month. And then luckily we have tons of clinical sites. So I had a bunch of sites that were closer to home. So I wasn't doing nearly as much commuting. Um, so when that happened, I mean, the kids were a little bit older at that point. So then they were like almost 3 and 4. So they were in preschool. So they were in preschool full day, 5 days a week. So I really used the opportunity that when they weren't there to study. Um, and did more like evening studying, things like that. But I worked. I don't know how much you guys have talked about like the use of Anki cards and things like that.
Mhm.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, some
So
people like them.
yeah. So I loved them. I started building my deck from the beginning of the program. So then when it came down to later on in boards prep, it's not like I had to make all of those again. I had them. Where a lot of people were kind of just getting into that when we were getting into board studying, and then they were spending a lot of time doing that. So I think that if you can set yourself up for success from the beginning, it really gives you a lot of time later on.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I'm all about that. And then, so basically, you're working, doing school is
Hmm.
your full time job. That's what it is. Because you eventually obviously had to quit working as an ICU nurse and just
Oh
let the
yeah. As soon
money
as we as soon
let it
as we
go.
found out about COVID, I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. So
Yeah.
deuces.
Yeah.
We're not
You're like, I'm
happy
done.
about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not, what am I going to do? Like, I don't want to get sick. And then, then
Yeah.
my program, who knows? Like, we didn't know
No,
anything.
nothing.
So it was not a risk I was willing to take for myself, my family, nothing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you were in school. So again, you kind of pivoted into there. And I do like, if you guys hear her, like she literally was like, I was terrified. I was terrified of quitting work. I was terrified of all these things, but it still didn't stop her. Like she made, and I think you said it right off the bat. You were like, I make it work. And I say that all the time to y'all. Like you have to become and believe you're the person that's going to figure it out. You have to trust
mhm.
yourself that you are 100% going to make it work. You're just going to make it work, going to figure it out. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be, all the things that maybe you imagined in your head. There's going to be sacrifices and cuts. It is going to be scary, but you got to trust that you
Mhm.
can make it work. And she did. So as far as your evenings go, because I know people are just like, oh my God, so you're at clinical all day. You drive an hour or so home. How do you find the time to feed your children, bathe them, get them ready for bed, do your care plans? Like, what did the
Yeah.
evenings look like? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So, my husband was fantastic. So he fed them. He got them bathed in their jammies, all of that. So when I would come home from clinical, the first thing I would do was sit down and do my care plans. Um, I found that when I came home and like decompressed first, it was impossible to get back. And then I was like up until like
Yeah.
9, 10 o'clock at night because I'm just like, oh, this is terrible. If
Yeah.
when you're like riding the vibes of clinical, like just keep going until you run out. Yeah. So I would just sit and do my care plans. My first rotation, we had to do care plans for every single patient that we had that day for the next day. So, you'd be there for a while doing your care plans. And my goal was to get them done and be ready, just the sooner I got them done, the sooner I got to spend time with my family. Um, I didn't like pre-make care plans, but I had my care plans and I would obviously save them because you're doing like lap choles, it's going to look pretty much the same, except for like individual patient factors, right? So that helped. The longer I did clinical, the bigger the bank I had. Um, but yeah, so my evenings, pretty much by the time I finished doing my care plans, the kids were fed, bathed, ready to decompress for the night. And so we would kind of just veg on the couch. If I was working particularly late, I still remember this. My kids, I used to always work on our dining room table because, you've got your laptop and your iPad, you got this and you got that, and you just needed like all the space. So I got this big, like 8-person dining table, and they would come and they would bring their notebooks and like their pencils or whatever, and they would sit and color with me. They would be doing their homework too, they would say. And, they would give me their pictures and I'd always keep them in like my binder or put it in like my Mass Gen book, and then whenever you open it, you just remember like why you're doing this. And And so, and I still have them. So
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. See, your kids are going to be better for
Oh
what they
yeah.
see you do, like what they see you do, how when they watch you fail, when they watch you work hard, like you're
Hmm.
not damaging your kids by putting your career first and doing all those things. Like I think that is so cute. I love that. You guys hear that? That is such a
Yeah.
good idea. I absolutely like love that. And making the
Yeah.
time you do have be enough. Like this is what
Hmm.
I can give right now. Let me make it enough. And even a lot of people ask me, I don't get it. How do you be a working mom? How do you do it? And I said, I just do it. And I'm not perfect. And some
Hmm.
days I want to like throw everybody in a closet and run. Other days I'm having fun. Like it's just, I don't make anything be that big of a deal. And I try to be intentional. Like, okay, like I'm recording this podcast now during nap time. And then when I get
Hmm.
up, because I've been doing business stuff, now I'm just going to spend intentional time with them. Then I'm going to go back and put some laundry away. Maybe I put music on. Like you just try to make what you do have work and then set boundaries of like on your
Hmm.
Sunday's family day. Like for me right now in my life, it's Saturday. Like Saturday, I rarely try to do mock anything. Like I just like family and let the day flow. So I think it's important having those things. And I think you also made up a good point of working ahead, like creating your care plan bank, having your Anki cards, like just, and I say that all the time, working ahead when you can, getting ahead
Hmm.
on things, getting your resources put together for a paper that's maybe due later, just, little bits here when you can work ahead, it makes a big difference, like in the long run, for
Oh,
sure.
100%.
Like for sure. Real quick, and then we're gonna talk about your life now and finishing up
Hmm.
that. But how was it being married? Like, how was your relationship with your husband during this time with having kids and 3 full-time jobs, being in CRNA school? How
Yeah.
did y'all keep the spark alive?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I know Andy had a hard time, and he's not someone to complain. But you could see it. It's hard. He went from having a partner to being a full, kind of a single parent, taking on the big parts. So really just trying to show appreciation and tell him how much I appreciate and show that I appreciate. Would try to take on what I could when I could do it, um so that when I really couldn't, he knew. It's like I knew, like I remember him saying one time, like, I know if you could do it you would do it, but you can't, so I'm just going to do it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's hard to kind of let go, but just making time for each other in what little time you have. For me, and even now, it's sitting next to him on the couch instead of sitting next to the kids. I think, just like the little things,
Little
right?
thing. Mhm.
Sitting next to him at dinner instead of on the other side. And I don't know how spicy your podcast gets, but just making time for each other. And if that means
Mhm.
scheduling time with each other, it is what it is, but it's better than the resentment that comes with not. Um,
There you
so
go.
that,
Yep.
yeah. And at the end of when I was done with school, I got him a graduation present, which was a new iPhone and a little model car that said when I got my sign up bonus, we'd go buy him a new car because his is like falling apart.
He's like, I'm gonna make it work, baby. I got this. It's fine.
Yeah. So, and then
Love that.
also just like not taking it too seriously, right? Like knowing
Yeah.
that it's temporary. And it can be as big of a deal as you let it. And just knowing, yeah, just knowing that like this is a small hump and the rest of our life, we have the rest of our life ahead of us. So,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
I absolutely love that. What did studying for the NCE look like? Like, because I know a lot of people get to the end, you have kids, you're married, you're doing all the things.
Yeah.
How did you like get like a one more push to get that done with
Yeah.
kids?
Well, I planned a really big vacation. So I was like, I have to take my boards this day because I leave next week.
Yeah.
But so for my program, we took the C in June. So we had to take our senior C in June. And then based on how you did in your senior C or junior C, and whole other factors, our assistant program director would develop a plan for us. So what your plan looked like. So depending on that, you would get like a 2-week study plan, a 3-week, a 6-week, or whatever. So, um, a lot of people in my program took their C, got their program, and like didn't do any studying until they were done at the end of August. I did not. I kept reviewing my cards. I just like kept my brain alive while I still had the time to do it. And then when it came time to studying, I had what I have. I had a 4-week program. So I did it like full time, like I talked about before. The kids at that point were in school, kindergarten and fours preschool. So they were gone all day. So I'd get them to school and study from 8 to 5 and then pick them up and have my evenings, and did that for 4 weeks and took my boards and passed and enjoyed my vacation.
What did you use to study for boards?
So I went to Valley, which I liked. I am a person who needs to like write on things and circle things and like cross things out and write little notes and stuff. We did our program would give us resources both in Valley and what's the other one? I've already got
Apex.
eliminated. Apex. I'm like, it's
Sorry.
already out of my brain. I already
God.
forgot. And Apex took, kind of review both because, resources are good, but you don't want to like flood yourself with information. And I went mostly with Valley because the computer based with Apex, I just felt like it wasn't sinking in, at least for
Mhm.
me. So, but it was good
Nice.
for certain concepts that were particularly tricky, or I needed more information, or they, because they have like the videos and all of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
helpful.
So you passed boards, you secured a job because you heard you had a sign-on
Yes.
bonus. Where was your
Yes.
vacation at? Where'd you guys
So
go?
so my husband and I were celebrating our what was it? It was our 10-year wedding anniversary. Yeah, our 10-year wedding anniversary. The month after after I
Right.
graduated. So we got married in San Diego, and so we planned a big 10-day vacation where we went to San Diego with the kids, where we got married, spent time there, and then we went to Disneyland.
Love it. That's like
Yeah.
perfect. I love it.
Yeah. So it
So
was fun.
I love that. Tell me
Mhm.
about the transition from
Mhm.
CRNA student mother, resident mother,
Mhm.
to being a CRNA working mom. Like, tell me about that transition into your first job. How did that
Yeah.
look like?
Oh my gosh, felt like it was my first day of school. Like when you're a kid, you're just like so excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciated being able to wake up and just go to work and then leave work when I left and like not have to think about it. Yeah, so my first job I was working 410, so I had every Thursday off. So that was nice. I felt like I finally had some free time, where I didn't have to study. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't know what to do with myself. And I kind of found that during like NCE studying and afterwards waiting for like your licenses to go through. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm so used to having a huge to-do list and then I've got nothing. I
Yep.
got nothing to do. But yeah, starting that first job, I mean, obviously by the time you get back into the OR, it's been a while. And I remember my first day back, they put me in, um, or my first day like ever as a real CRNA, I was at an outpatient surgical center doing peds ENT all day. And
Going wrong for that.
I was just like, oh my, and I love kids. I love doing peds. It's like the highlight of my day now. But as a
Yeah.
new grad, never having done this alone, and the group we were both with like was totally, you were autonomous. Like you did your own thing.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like, oh my gosh, terrified. I'm like, I have to get there early. I have to look up all these kids. I gotta, make my note cards for like my weight-based dose and have everything out. It was a really stressful first day.
But you did it,
uh,
right? You
but
did
I
it
did
and
it.
it
And,
was
and
fine.
at the yeah, and at the end I was like, I really do know what I'm doing. Like luckily, like everyone made it through. All the kids were happy. I got them all to go back to the OR with me. No one punched me or kicked me. It was great. And showed up the next day and did something totally different, and the rest is history. It's the best job.
I
I
love
couldn't
it.
ask for anything better.
I
I'm
love
so
it. So
happy.
so it was worth it then. It was worth it doing it with
Oh,
kids.
Oh, 100%. I mean, even during the program, I remember my kids being like, "Why are you doing this?" And I'm like, "For you." And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "It's for you." Like, so, I can have more time with you. I can have more flexibility. I can, afford to do, it's not always about the money, but like it is a benefit, right? So,
Yeah.
what the one thing that they like jumped onto was mom's doing this so we can go to Disney World every year. And I'm like, you know
Whatever
what? Fine.
works.
If that's
Whatever
what you
works.
think it is, good. I did it so that you can go to college. But that's fine too.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever makes everybody happy.
Yeah. So it is 100% worth it. And I am happy to report we've gone to Disney World every year since I've graduated
See?
because they won't let me forget it.
Yep. Yep. They're like, you said if we would make it through this, we would
Yep.
do that. I love that. And again, like
Yep.
long-term vision, y'all, like seeing the
Yeah.
long-term vision, you can still take care of your kids. You can still do this. And you
Yeah.
do, from what it sounds like, you do enjoy being a working mom, as
Yeah.
do I. Like
I
I
like
enjoy it.
feeding my soul and being an independent person with my, I have my own life at school or at work with my own friends
Yeah.
and experiences and being able to come home and have a different environment with different people. And yeah, it's just I don't I couldn't ask for anything more.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. How old are
hmm
your kids now?
James is almost 9 and Miss Ella is 7.5. So
Wow.
I was just going to say, and I will tell you, they remember nothing. They don't remember me doing anything else besides this. So, and that was my goal. I mean, I remember when I was thinking about when I was applying and I was talking to my friends at work, other nurses, and a lot, most of the time, the first thing out of their mouth was, I can't believe you would do that. I can't believe that you would do that. Your kids are so young. You're pregnant. Like, why would you ever do that? They're going to remember you not being around. And I remember that really, that stressing me out too. And
Yeah.
now here I am. I'm like, you know what? They don't remember anything.
Yeah. Even if they do, it's okay. Like it's
They
okay.
don't
Like you
care.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
No,
fine.
like yeah, it's, the person who was most affected by all of this was me and myself, and they were fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
love that. So you did not damage your kids by going to CRNA
no,
school.
not at all. If anything, it now my daughter says she wants to be a nurse anesthetist. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, Nicole, any last minute gems advice you would give to people who are maybe scared to go to CRNA school with their kids, who are maybe in the trenches
Mhm.
right now and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. What do you have to say to them?
Oh, wow. Well, you can do it. If you put your mind to it, you'll make it work. It'll be hard. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to make sacrifices, but it's the end goal, right? Every day is another step closer. And really, the best advice that I can give is just make the best use of the time that you do have. And really like when you can disengage from school and give yourself fully to your family or your friends, I mean, do it because it feeds your soul. Like that's really what's going to recharge you for the next hurdle you have to jump. um and whatever that looks like for you, if it's spending time alone, spending time with your family, exercising, whatever, I mean, it's only going to help you. So
That I love that. And I preach that all the
yeah.
time. You have to take care of the person behind the things and the tests and the seat and all of that. You have to love on yourself um,
Yeah.
above all
And that's
else, or
hard.
it's hard.
It's
Yeah.
hard. I mean, we're
Yeah.
nurses, so we're used to caring for others. We're not always the best at caring for ourselves. And especially, women, mothers, parents, you're always looking for someone else, and it takes a lot to
Yeah.
focus on yourself, but you feel the difference when you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Nicole, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of life to do this. I know you've been so helpful to everybody. So yeah, if you guys want to connect more with Nicole, I will leave her Instagram on here so you guys can check her out
Yes,
and
I
watch her
am.
just
Yeah,
life.
happy to answer any questions, be a sounding board, advice, anything, because I wish I had that. I had to kind of figure it out, but um yeah, I'm happy to help
Yeah.
as much as I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I so appreciate. Thank you guys for listening. And parents, freaking get this done. You guys can do this. Your kids are going to be fine. You're going to be a little frazzled, razzled, but you will be fine too. And just go out there and make your dreams come true. And it will be worth it. I promise. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Did I stop it?